Hello, everyone. Welcome to the News Browse News broadcast. According to UPI, Panama has formally offered to host talks between the United States and Cuba in an effort to revive diplomatic relations between the two nations. Panamanian Foreign Minister Javier Martinez-Aca announced the proposal during the General Assembly of the Organization of American States, OAS, in Panama City. He emphasized the need for a results-oriented diplomatic approach to promote regional stability and peaceful coexistence. While the Cuban government has expressed willingness to participate in talks on equal terms, the United States has not yet given a definitive response but is considering the option. Additionally, Panama is holding discussions with Havana regarding 7 Panamanian citizens detained in Cuba on charges of anti-government propaganda. Foreign Minister Martinez-Aca also touched upon regional matters, reaffirming Panama's recognition of Edmundo González as Venezuela's president-elect. Meanwhile, OAS Secretary General Albert Ramdin urged for the expansion of democratic practices in Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela, pledging support for democratic institutions across the region. According to a report by Liberty Times, the new government of the Solomon Islands is actively reshaping its foreign and security strategy. Peter Caniloria Jr., the Minister of National Planning and Development Coordination, stated that the country aims to gradually reduce China's involvement in its policing and security affairs, which he deemed excessively high for a small Pacific nation. Instead, the government is focusing on repairing and reviving its bilateral relations with Australia, with the goal of signing a comprehensive bilateral cooperation treaty within the next 6 months. While the Solomon Islands still intends to maintain economic ties with Beijing, it seeks to cool down the security cooperation that began with the controversial 2022 Security Pact. This pact previously raised concerns in Western nations about potential Chinese military bases in the region. In response to China's growing expansion, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is scheduled to visit several Pacific Island nations, including the Solomon Islands, in July to consolidate regional partnerships and counter Beijing's influence. According to a report by Lianhe Xiaobao, Iran's permanent representative to the United Nations in Geneva, Ali Bahraini, asserted on June 23 that Iran will hold sole authority over how its frozen assets are used once a war-ending agreement is finalized between Tehran and Washington. This statement directly contradicts claims made by the United States. Under a negotiated agreement, the U.S. has reportedly agreed to unfreeze $12 billion in Iranian funds and temporarily suspend oil sanctions. However, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance stated that the assets remain frozen. He emphasized that even if released, the funds would be restricted to purchasing non-military American goods, such as soybeans, rather than funding terrorism. Vance added that under a proposal involving Qatar, both the U.S. and Qatar would hold approval rights over the unfreezing process. Bahraini flatly rejected the U.S. narrative, stating that while the U.S. and Qatar must handle the technical arrangements of releasing the funds, their involvement stops there. He emphasized that Iran will not tolerate any external interference or oversight regarding how the funds are ultimately spent. According to a report by UPI, South Korean chemical giant LG Chem has announced a major strategic pivot, outlining plans to invest $9.7 billion in research and development over the next decade through 2035. The Seoul-based company will focus its investment on fostering futuristic growth engines powered by the artificial intelligence boom, including advanced materials for semiconductors, mobility, robotics, and oncology drugs. This decision comes as the company seeks to offset declining profitability in its traditional petrochemical business, which has been hit hard by a global oversupply and intensifying competition. By shifting focus toward high-value-added products, LG Chem aims to secure a double-digit operating profit margin by 2030. To support this transformation, CEO Kim Dong-chun emphasized the need to transition into a tech-driven converting company that leverages its core technological expertise to generate new, differentiated revenue streams. Additionally, LG Chem plans to actively pursue external growth through mergers and acquisitions, having recently set up a dedicated organization for this purpose. The announcement followed a volatile day on the Seoul stock market, where tech sell-offs led to a significant drop in LG Chem's share price. According to NBC News, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled 6-3 in favor of the Trump administration on Tuesday, confirming the federal government's authority to place lawful permanent residents accused of crimes on immigration parole upon returning to the country. The case involved Muk Choi Lau, a green card holder who was placed on parole after a trip to China because of pending counterfeiting accusations. Lau argued that immigration officers overstepped their authority, allowing the Department of Homeland Security to expedite deportation proceedings after he pleaded guilty to selling counterfeit goods. Writing for the majority, Justice Clarence Thomas stated that border officers are not required to establish by clear and convincing evidence that a resident committed a crime of moral turpitude to initiate this process. In a sharp dissent, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, joined by her liberal colleagues, warned that the ruling places individuals in immigration limbo before any formal conviction, effectively handing the government a massive blank check. The decision highlights ongoing legal battles over executive power in immigration matters under the Trump administration. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.